I've seen people in satanic things, and I've seen people in regular things, and there are, out of most of the cases, there's a very low percentage that are truly possessed, but there's a lot of it, though.
Well, I knew one of my guests. She's been on my show 3-4 times, and she has been to a couple of those, and she swears up and down you have to be really careful, because when you leave, that entity could actually leave that person, and actually follow you home. And she was like, and she's a medium, and what would happen to her, like on one incident, she went home, and all of a sudden she had all these scratches on her arms and legs, and she knew it wasn't from her doing it. And her boyfriend was looking at her. Maybe, she's got a little mental conditioning going on. And,
right.
And then she said she was looking at her arm, and all of a sudden a scratch would appear. And then it got really bad, and then her boyfriend was there when it happened. And when he saw the scratch, just all of a sudden on her arm appear, and she started bleeding, he realized something was going on.
Stigmata, yes.
Yeah, so she was saying you got to be really careful that, if you don't do the cleansing right, or if you don't do whatever you guys do, that they can, follow you. Even being a medium, because she does readings for people.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, if you don't do it right, she said all of a sudden you can have these people that, that were infected with demons or, the bad spirits, all of a sudden get into you. And exactly.
And that's why you want to be being a medium as well, and doing the readings for the people. That's why you want to be very, very careful. I've been very blessed in the fact that the people that I've been around, that I didn't have any spirits that followed me home. I mean, I couldn't afford to feed them anyways. So.
Who can nowadays? You want to adopt one of my sons that's still living at home? He thinks he can live at the house for very little money a month. Oh, young people, I can see him still living here when I hit 93.
Now, what I feel from you being a psychic and medium, I feel that you're very intuitive as well. And you cut through to the bullshit, I could tell. Is that true?
Yeah, I do.
Which is okay, which is good. And I could tell that you're very caring at the same time, but you wouldn't admit that. You're very much of a private person. And you have a great comedy sense. You have a good sense of humor. And girlfriend, I see a girlfriend there that has...
my wife.
She really likes to kick your butt sometimes, in a kidding way.
Yeah, you're trying to get me in trouble with my wife right now.
I've
been married.
Now, the girlfriend could be the wife. Let me make sure I get that.
Yeah, I've been married to her since 1977. So,
wow. Okay, then you guys must have a really playful type of persona about you then.
We have 8 kids, but you know what? Everybody thinks you if you have 8 kids, that you're really into the bedroom. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure out how they all have popped out. But, it's not been my major thing, going into the bedroom in my life. But I don't know. But I've been married 3 times before that. My first marriage, I got married. I knew the girl. She was a former Miss Washington. And her parents were very wealthy, had a lot of friends in the entertainment business, like Johnny Mathis. They knew him really well, and things like that. And you know what? I got married to her after 2.5 weeks. I stayed married. Oh, wow. Married to her for 2.5 years of living hell. But you know what? Oh. We got married, and I decided I'm going to go to Kelso, Washington. I don't know why, but because she was, I guess, from Longview, and that's just right over the bridge. Well, we're married, and you know what? I worked in a cement company at that time in my life. I was in radio before it, lost that job, got married to her. That's why I lost the job. And I had to work in the cement company, shoveling, gravel and cement and sand in a hopper all day. I come home, right, and our apartment was dark. And here's all these candles and all these people I don't know with a Ouija board, chanting and talking weird. Found out my wife was in the occult big time, that she was in the she was in the witchcraft and all this stuff. And I tell you, it was 2.5 years of having to live with it. And then one day I realized, you know what? I'm going to go get a candy bar at the little store. And I never came back home.
You were smart. Yeah, I know. Get the hell out of there. Yes, yes. I've dated some people like that before, and I didn't know what they did till I found out. But one girl, she was a nurse, and like an RN, and she happened to drink a lot sometimes during the weekends. And we probably lived together for 1 year. The first time she moved in, I didn't even know she moved into my apartment. I mean, here I am living with a woman I don't know, and she's bringing home these guys at night, okay?
Oh, wow.
Now, I'm not talking about for sex. No. It was clean. She brought home this guy, and it turns out that he had some glass stuck inside his bottom. And she wanted my help to get it out. So here I am with a flashlight in the bathroom with this one guy going, "Excuse me, I'm not a doctor, but you have a problem right now." And she goes, "Just help me, please. This guy's in pain. He drove me home." I go, "Okay." I go, "What can we do? Shouldn't we take him to the hospital?" "Yes, but I need to remove it first, this little piece of glass." She did, and then she took him. Then we took him to the hospital so he wouldn't get any infection or anything like that. But this occurred many a times, and it was just a strange relationship that I had. That's all I could say.
Well, funny you said that. My second wife was an RN and worked at a major hospital in Seattle. And in the emergency room. And one day I asked her, and people are going to get mad, but I can say this. I'm going to. I said, "What is the craziest you've seen anything happening in the emergency room?" Because I was curious, right? And she said this 20-year-old guy came in with a penis lodged up his a pencil lodged up his penis.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't I don't know. Number one, I don't know why he'd put a penis in his penis, a pencil. Number two is, how embarrassing that would be to go to the hospital, and say, "Hey, I got a problem here."
Well, my question is, how could you sit in a car or on top of a motorcycle with a pencil on your bottom? Ass.
Not very carefully. Of course, if you go out to a restaurant and you go, "Wait a minute, let me sign the check." No, that's a bad joke.
I mean, you sit down depending how big of a guy you are, and that pencil's going to go up higher and higher.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't ask any more questions after that. I would never like to work in the hospital. I never would want to be in the ER. I'll tell you that.
It scares me. I spent my first part of my life in the ER, and I had a lot of asthma attacks and couldn't breathe when I was real little between the ages of probably 3 or 4 all the way up to about 14. I was in bad shape.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time I was having asthma attacks, I was going to school, of course, during the daytime, and then I was going to a speech and hearing center. And so I had like triple time, which you understand what I mean, to work hard. And I had parents when I was little that were really persistent with me in a good way, that taught me not to give up. I mean, I had a father and a mom that weren't really meant to be together. I mean, they could fight all the time. I'm talking about pretty bad fights, with each other. But the good part about this is they love me a lot, and I think the love was stronger than the chaos that was going around. And I would do it again. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Well, things have changed. You know, when I first got married to my wife, Linda, back 42 years ago. I think we were married like 2 weeks, and I cut the tip of my finger off, or half of my finger off. They managed to reattach it, and it works. I just can chew on the finger, and I don't feel the tip of it. But, you know, here I am in the ER, right, with a towel wrapped around my hand because I was gushing blood, right? And a guy walks in, and he's screaming. And, you know, I asked the doctor, I said, what happened? He goes, the guy was using a skill saw at the kitchen table without the guard. Ooh. And he dropped it on his lap, and you can figure out what he cut off. And I'm figuring this poor. Why am I even here? You know that here I just cut the tip of my finger off. This guy, you know, cut his what off.
Do you feel sometimes, Gary, that in life you're called to be at certain places? I feel that about you.
I think so because you know I was retired. You know because I'm at the age. And a friend of mine who's no longer with us, Art Bell, called me up out of the blue. Oh, I think last September last year.
Right.
And because I would go up and see him occasionally. When I went for my trip to Reno and Las Vegas, I would stop and say hi to him when he's in the country. Because I've known him since like 1989. And,
you mean the guy Art Bell with the radio?
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah. They had it. And, you know, he said, you know what, you need to get back on the radio and give up riding the motorcycle. And, you know, he said it enough to, you know, I thought about it, you know, I went to bed that night and I go, you know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get back into radio. And that, you know, it was spur of a moment type of thing, but it's been probably the most happiest thing I've ever done in radio. I mean, I used to work at some of the big stations, you know, and commercial, and now I'm heard by, I don't have the audience like I used to. I only have an audience around 250,000. But, you know,
so great.
But it's on the internet, and it's worldwide. So people listen to me in Australia. They listen to the UK, you know, South Korea. Even when I made a joke one time about North Korea president or dictator, I found the next day on our server, all of a sudden we had a listener from the government from North Korea all of a sudden.
Oh, wow.
So, hey, I guess my show gets out there.
That's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, with me, I understand what you're saying. My lungs got so bad. I got stuck about 2 years ago. I was in Louisiana, and the flood was there. And I think it was Baton Rouge. They had that bad flood. And I got stuck in all that crappy water. And ever since that day, I mean, from that day till my lungs have been bad for about 2 years. Oh, and I've been tested out. I'm fine. I don't have any kind of weird thing in my blood, but it's just strange.
Well, things like that can, cause problems, You're what, 57, you said?
56, born 1962.
Oh, you're a young kid. Wait till you get my age. Yeah. You wake up, that's an accomplishment, then you sit there and look for 2 hours where you put the car keys, and then you take your whole day as it comes.
Exactly, I know.
You know how many times I had to wear the left shoe because I couldn't find my right shoe?
I could imagine. I mean, just...
That was a bad joke.
Getting up and making yourself eat right sometimes is a task in itself.
Oh. Yeah, I blame that on my wife. You know what? My wife, when we first got married, she I wondered if she was going to try to kill me for my insurance. She took
apparently not.
She took a well, I don't know. She took a roast. It was frozen, and she put it in the oven all day, a gas oven, this under warm temperature. I didn't realize that. Then when she got home from work, like 9 hours later, she went ahead and cooked it. And then, she gave me this nice bottle of wine, and like 3 hours later, I thought I was dying.
What happened?
Bad. Well, if you take